Obviously, if you've read the title of this video, it should be clear on what my stance on proxies are. But I do want to use this video to at least explain that I prefer them in more casual formats like Commander. On top of just being a good way to play test decks and strategies so you don't have to just blow a bunch of fucking money on overpriced cardboard. But outside of Commander and just kitchen table playtesting, there's really no such thing as a proxy card in real formats like any sanctioned Eternal format, and maybe Standard every once in a while. You're either playing with the real deal or you're playing with the counterfeit. But in this video, my main talking points will be around the Commander format. Since A, it is the most popular format in Magic the Gathering, and B, despite me talking a little shit on it earlier, I actually do enjoy Commander, and especially CEDH. Especially for a Legacy player, CEDH is definitely right up my alley. But apparently proxies are a big debate in the Commander community overall. People hate seeing them being played because they feel it stifles deck building creativity, and other people prefer to not be gatekept by financial means. Seriously, I'm trying to play Magic to play against your mind, not your wallet. Look, I'm not joining a pod for the sole purpose of pocket watching, okay?
No pocket watching in these parts.
This shit ain't nothing to me, man. But here's the thing. I deal with enough of that pay-to-win bullshit in the tournament scene. Like, especially for Legacy, I try to excuse it and justify it with the whole, oh, I could make my money back in tournament wins, blah, blah, blah. I just feel that Commander shouldn't be pay to win, no matter what bracket you're playing in. And if the only way for some people to break through that paywall is to just proxy what they can't access, then by all means go ahead. Especially, again, in a casual format. And before you want to be a classist asshole and make fun of poor people, do keep in mind that some people actually can afford all the high-end staples and reserve list cards. A lot of those collectors would rather just play with the proxies instead of their real cards, risking damaging them or ruining them in any way. And while I personally have a different viewpoint on that, I can see where someone's coming from if they'd rather play with a printed version of a $1,000 card. Now, me personally, I would rather play with the real deal no matter how much the card's value is. Hell, I play Legacy, of course I don't care. Though I kind of have two personal dilemmas. My main problem is that I'm just too goddamn poor to be able to afford a whole deck outright. On top of prioritizing my Magic spending on Legacy, and that when buying cards for Commander, I'd rather just go after the pretty, shiny, or any of the older printings. Which is a slightly different approach to the way I build my Legacy and Modern decks. No matter what format I play in, if I'm going for a tournament, I either go for the original printing or the cheapest I can find. So to put it to you this way, my tournament decks are the sports model, while my Commander decks are the luxury model. If that makes any sense. But with my financial situation and budgeting priorities clashing with the fact that I just want to play these decks and strategies with my friends, I've decided to just say fuck it and proxy whatever I don't have at the time. And to top things off, I'm free to just play test and fine-tune the deck however I want without having to spend all the money. While in the background, I'm slowly working my way towards building that collection. Buying a few of the cards here or there at a time, or better yet, even trading for the cards, or just be gifted a $100 fucking card at your merch booth. True story, happened when my band opened up for 6 Feet Under, still can't fucking believe it to this day. You know goddamn well I'll cherish that fucking One Ring. But to get back on track, that's why I personally proxy. You know, it's like test driving a car before you buy it. I want to test out how the deck does before I fully commit. So therefore, it's my deck, it's my money, it's my printer ink. And if you actually feel insulted by that, fuck you. Okay, edgy bullshit aside, let me circle back and respond to a previously mentioned counterpoint. The idea that playing with proxies stifles deck building creativity and just promotes everyone to be able to just print off and play the most overpowered deck possible. Now, if Commander was a tier 0 format, then I can definitely see where you're coming from. But I personally see two problems with this argument. The first one being that, as a format entirely, Commander and even CEDH is a very diverse format. So what can be determined as broken or overpowered is really up to the pod you're playing in. Which leads me to my second counterpoint, is that the original argument falls flat when you consider the fact that once everyone is playing with power, then no one is playing with power. which again is ultimately decided by a Rule 0 discussion. And hell, even if everyone is playing with the most powerful cards, again, Commander is a very diverse format. I mean, hell, even in CEDH, not everyone is running Blue Farm or even Thoracle for a win con. Itali and Keurig are my two favorite examples of non-blue CEDH commanders, and even other viable mono-green and mono-red options. I'm sure there's something for mono-white, but I really just don't care. I mean, hell, if I had the time, I could sit here all day and just name off other commander options like the Gitrog monster, Obnixilis, or even partnering Tymna with someone like Kodama or Dargo. I may not be a fan of mono white, but white paired with any other color just works out a lot better in my opinion. My whole point is that if there's even diversity in CEDH, there's so much more diversity in lower brackets. So the idea of everybody just printing off the best decks and strategies is really just a non-issue. And hell, the entire issue wouldn't exist at all if the whole pod could just have a discussion prior to playing. Hence the point of the, say it with me, Rule 0 discussion. The most powerful pregame action of all. One more counterpoint against Proxies that I want to address is the whole monetary side of things. The idea that playing with Proxies would hurt both Wizards of the Coast and any local game store financially. Now, I'm not sure why my fellow peasants are worried about the profits of a multi-billion-dollar corporation, but you might have a point with how it affects profits for smaller companies and smaller game shops. But typically, game shops have other means of making profits by selling other games, so it's almost a non-issue if you really think about it. But at the end of the day, I am a very die-hard support your local business advocate, so I can see that counterpoint. Despite that, though, that isn't going to stop my printer from going fucking brrrr. So before I go, I would like to address a few things that are off topic from the video. Mainly a few things that Wizards of the Coast has announced since I've uploaded my first Magic the Gathering related video on my channel. Both of which were issues that I've addressed in said first video. For example, they've announced the roadmap of set releases for next year, where not only does it look like they're cutting back on Universe Beyond releases, but it looks like they're just cutting back on set releases overall. Though even though it's a 50-50 split between Universes Beyond and in-universe sets, I feel like that's still a step up from what we've had over the past. And the other one is the recently announced Hatsune Miku Secret Lair Commander deck, where for the first time in a while, they're actually making it print on demand, where for the 24 hours leading up to the drop, players and collectors can put their name on a list to actually get their products. Although it still somewhat looks like a first-come, first-served situation, where they'll still send out a certain amount of decks in the first place, and then anyone else who hasn't gotten theirs will end up getting theirs later on. Despite said later on being in the spring and summer of next year, I'm still kind of optimistic about how this will turn out. So, well, time will tell on how this ends up. But with all that out of the way, I think I'll just wrap it up here. If you enjoyed what you hear today, feel free to leave a like on the video. I really appreciate it. And no matter your side on the whole Proxies debate, feel free to leave a comment on what you think either way. On top of that, if you want to hear more of my opinions and dumb rants, feel free to subscribe. And of course, if you're enjoying what you're hearing in the background, be sure to check out my band Dark Eater. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Music, Pandora, and plus we're also on Instagram, Facebook, and even YouTube. But until next time, my name's Malachi, and I'll see you later.